Am I the asshole for bringing my special needs son to my sister's wedding? My wife and I, 33, were invited to my sister's wedding. She had a rule about no children under the age of 10. My wife and I have a son who's 13, but also is special needs and developmentally behind. He's in a wheelchair and fully disabled. We do everything for him. He can hold sentences with you, and he does enjoy things, but has a mind of a much younger child. We brought him along to my sister's wedding. During the wedding, our son began to get a little restless, in which we gave him his headphones and iPad, which calmed him. At reception, my sister pulled me aside and asked why I had ignored her rule about children. I said I didn't, and that he was old enough to attend. She then said the point of it was for noise disruptions, then pointed out both her children missed her wedding because of their age. I told her that was her choice, and our son only acted out once, which we reacted quickly, and he was silent the rest of the time. She was upset still and said we reacted by giving him an iPad and how that was extremely rude of him to be on his iPad during her wedding. I told her if she didn't want our son coming, she should have told us directly. BC, how are we supposed to assume? She got upset and went and complained to our mom, saying how we made her angry on her special day. AITA. I told her if she didn't want our son coming, she should have told us directly. BC, how are we supposed to assume? Granted. But also, you knew the intent behind the no young kids rule and knew your developmentally disabled son presented a significant risk of causing the very same issues your sister was trying to avoid. Our son only acted out once. And that was once too much. I know I'm going to sound like an asshole for saying it, but your kid might be 13, he does not act like a 13-year-old. Your sister should have clearly told you your son was not invited, but you knew why the wedding was 10 and older only, and yet, you brought a child who would never have been able to sit through the ceremony quietly. Am I the only person that thinks it's weird the bride didn't have her own children there? You're the asshole. You knew your sister was wanting an event free of distractions from children and should have acted accordingly. You knew that your son wouldn't be interested in being at a wedding, very likely has no concept of what a wedding even is and the importance of not interrupting, and would likely be disruptive. You knew that, that's why you brought something else for him to do. If you have to give someone something else to do at an event, they should not be at that event. Who was on the invitation? As a general rule, only those specifically named or allowed via one should attend. I lean to you're the asshole. No kids under 10 implies exactly what your sister said. She only wanted kids that can take care of themselves. She probably assumed you were on the same page. I always love it when parents are like, my kid only disrupted the event once briefly. That means they disrupted the event. You're the asshole for not clarifying with your sister about whether or not your son should attend. Hold up. She didn't invite her own children? AITA, and if she contacted you personally and said I don't want your kid because they have the mind of a child, I bet you would have been upset too. She then said the point of it was for noise disruptions, then pointed out both her children missed her wedding because of their age. I told her that was her choice, and our son only acted out once, which we reacted quickly, and he was silent the rest of the time. Regardless of the age restrictions, you're the asshole for this dismissive answer. You are old enough to know most people do not want interruptions during their wedding and probably should have known your son would have won. Even if it surprised you that he did cause a disruption, the appropriate answer would have been to apologize for the issue. AITA, you know he is developmentally behind, meaning he will not act like any other 13-year-old. It's not like you're oblivious to this fact, you're aware he could still cause distractions. You should have asked ahead of time. Info, was your son named on the wedding invitation? Did you RSVP that there were 3 of you coming? Not the asshole. Maybe OP assumed her sister wanted her son there for her special day. Not the asshole, you are right, and there should have been much clearer communication if your sister didn't want him there. I'm not going to lie, and I know I'll get hate for this, but I have to say it. The fact that she just assumed you understood that she didn't want him there because of him being a distraction feels like ableism. I swear people let ableism slide all the time. Overall, even if she isn't ableist, she still should have been more clear. Not the asshole. What the hell is wrong with the "you're the asshole" and ESH people here? You followed the exact rules she provided, and took care of the one minor disruption your son made. You literally could not have done anything more. Not the asshole. Anyone who says differently is out of their mind. Not the asshole. But based on purely the post. If your sister said kids under 10 not allowed. No kids under 10 attended. No one said you couldn't bring your above 10 years old, you followed the rules. I'm autistic, so maybe it should have been obvious, but if you tell me follow these rules, I will follow them to a T. If you get mad at me because I didn't read between your lines, that's on you. Not the asshole. What would have happened if a 28 years old coughed? Not the asshole. If she didn't want a 13 years old there, sister need to use her big girl words and tell you. If she made a cutoff of 10 years old, that is a pretty clear indication to include a closely related 13 years old. IMO. How are you supposed to infer the opposite? Like, for real? So many conversations on this subreddit on brides specifically choosing cutoff to exclude certain children. If there are exceptions, the bride will tell the family. And somehow you are being called the AH for not being a mind reader. That she really meant cognitive ability. Fuck off with that. Not the asshole. There is, however, a lot of ableist bullshit in these comments. ETA as evidenced by PPL, who assumed this person's son couldn't possibly be interested in a wedding. PPL assuming that OP should have known because his child has a developmental delay, GAR. I hope y'all don't have anyone with disabilities in your family. BC, I'm afraid they wouldn't be treated like humans. Also, what's up with the emphasis on appearances at a wedding? I feel like there are a lot of people having weddings for wedding culture's sake. Isn't a wedding a time to celebrate with loved ones and family? This is a tough one, but I'm going to say not the asshole. The RSVP was addressed to your family with no mentions of names, so in my opinion, your sister should have reached out beforehand and you could have made your arrangements or simply not go, since your child is a special case. I'm a Canadian Pakistani. We don't have rules that someone can dictate to us about weddings. I'm thankful that we don't have to deal with this. Not the asshole. A developmentally challenged child needs to see and feel the world as well. While your sister might have no kids policy, if I were you, I'd decline being part of that wedding if it meant leaving my son behind, and because of my culture, might have not met her afterwards either, but that's me, a Canadian Pakistani. Not the asshole. The son wasn't excluded and the OP dealt with it. The sister ISTA for complaining about her disabled nephew's behavior. People want this perfect wedding free of any perceived imperfections, children and disabled people, apparently, but guess what? Life isn't perfect and can still be beautiful. Info: was your son's name on the invitation? Not the asshole. Bride should have been more specific. Especially if invite was addressed to the family. Absolutely disgusting that someone would let this ruin their wedding day. What a shrew of a human. Not the asshole. And who the fuck doesn't invite their own minor children to their wedding? This whole child-free wedding in US culture is so baffling to me, but this reaches next level of absurd. I can't believe some of these comments. Not the asshole. Your sister is a massive asshole. She didn't want her own children at her wedding? WTF. She made the age 10, your son is 13. You did nothing wrong. Not the asshole. She knows how old your son is. She tried to weasel out of having an uncomfortable conversation by hoping you would read her mind that 10 really meant 13 in your case. She knows he's not under 10. If she didn't want to get angry on Hugh's special day, she should have effing communicated before the big day.